I think the best way to compare and contrast these two tomatoes between the no-till and the till tomatoes is to do a split screen. Okay, so the first thing I noticed right away is that the till tomatoes are brown and crusty on the bottom. That is from a disease called blight. It affects the plants. It comes from the soil. So we didn't get these mulched right away, and so we had erratic rainfall. That the rain hit the ground at a really hard pressure, splashed this soil-borne disease onto the leaves. And if you notice that the disease goes from the bottom up to the top of the plant. So the plants aren't dead just yet, but they're still producing, and the no-till tomatoes don't have that. And one of the reasons why is because we did not till the soil, and instead we cut down a cover crop and shoveled out a little bit of dirt and directly planted it in there. So then when we didn't mulch these ones on time either, the erratic rainfall came and it hit the mulch that was already in place from the hairy vetch and the winter wheat. That's one thing that really helped save the blight on the tomatoes. The next thing I noticed out here is that the tomatoes, the till tomatoes are a little bit taller and bigger than the no-till tomatoes, but don't let that fool you because the fruit set is almost the same. So on these no-till tomatoes, there's about 9 to 10 on average per tomato, and on the tilled tomatoes there's about 10 to 11. But they also have a disease. So while the no-till tomatoes are less productive, they don't have a disease. So they can grow a lot taller and they can grow a lot longer, and actually in the end might actually produce more fruit through the whole entire year, because the tilled tomatoes are eventually going to die off from the blight, and so they're going to become less productive as the year goes on, while these ones here are still trucking along. So they're a little bit behind. Their fruit set is green, and they haven't been able to, we haven't tasted anything up this side here. While the tilled section, we've actually been picking a few tomatoes the last few weeks. So those are the differences we see now. We'll check back, and we'll actually do a taste test when the no-till tomatoes are ready to go.
So this is the same variety though?
Yeah, exactly the same variety.
One's right and
seems sweeter to me. That seems sweeter. That
Well,
seemed a little bit more.
Closer to ripe, or closer to rot too, so it would be like.
Yeah, this one's almost slightly rotten on the side
So
here.
it would be like super peak, where this is a little.
Well, that one I got a lot of sweet tones, and this one seemed a little more vinegary, which I like better.
I think this one's got more flavor.
Mm-hmm. This one really hits you.
Number one.
I like one more.
So what's what?
This one is the tilled tomato,
Number one. Is
and this one is no-till tomato. But they're from different ripenesses, I think, slightly.
Yeah.
I think that's the.
Right now I'm making some dehydrated tomatoes for the winter time. The tilled tomato was number 1 and the no-till tomato was number 2. Even though the tilled tomato was chosen as the favorite, I think that the judging was a bit skewed because the tilled tomato was almost rotten. As it was sitting on the counter waiting for our taste testing crew to come by and taste it, it was actually getting softer and softer and almost rotting. So I cut that half off and I sliced up the other part so we could taste it. I think that in the end, if they're equally ripe across the board, they would taste almost identical.